So part of MCU Phase 4 is not just the movies, but the TV shows. And Black Widow's getting her own movie. Pretty much all the Avengers got their own movie, except for Hawkeye. Talking about all the original Avengers, of course, the original 6 from Avengers 2012. But Hawkeye is getting his own television show on Disney Plus, and we're going to talk about that here on this video. Welcome back, Hayden, so we can talk more about this. Yo, Hayden, what's up?
Glad to be back, talking about more MCU.
Yes, indeed, Phase 4. We're talking about stuff that's not going to air for years, but it's okay. We can talk about it. So, Clint Barton, Hawkeye, first appearance was in Thor, the first Thor, and then we saw him again in the first Avengers. Kind of a villain because Loki was brainwashing him with the scepter or whatever the case is.
Shafted.
Yeah. And now he's coming in. I loved the character of Ronin. I loved what he did in Avengers Endgame with the Yakuza and all that stuff. But now this is after Endgame. His family's back, including his daughter. And the premise of this show, from what we understand, is going to be the training of Kate Bishop. And I mean, they're obviously gonna have to work together against somebody, but and there's gonna be some villain somewhere. We just don't know exactly what's gonna be. We'll speculate here in a minute, but that's the main story. Now, do you think the transition between Hawkeye and Kate Bishop is part of Disney's little girl power thing, in your opinion?
It might be. It's probably just a coincidence, the timing, because Jeremy Renner he wants to exit the MCU soon, I'm sure, and the natural successor would be Kate Bishop. She's been an established character since long before the time of political correctness in comics and all that stuff.
Right. No, I agree with you completely. And what I was thinking about is since Hawkeye's kind of known for the West Coast Avengers and Thunderbolts and whatnot, I'm not saying they're going to do the West Coast Avengers, but when you take the idea behind him training Kate Bishop and then possibly the idea of Bucky and Falcon becoming more main event players, it looks like they're setting up the next set of Avengers without Tony and the original Steve Rogers. It looks like what they're doing here is we have new Avengers or young Avengers being the next big team, with Spider-Man possibly being in there as well.
I heard back when, before the announcement was official, when there was a 4chan leak about the direction of the MCU, the Young Avengers was mentioned as, the next Avengers title that we would get, which, I found dubious, but probably a cool idea. I totally see them doing that here, honestly. Kate Bishop would be the perfect character to start building the Young Avengers with, and keep the main Avengers team for all the A-list heroes that they're bringing in. Not that she's not A-list, but, she's better suited for the Young Avengers, in my opinion. Build out the Avengers with more indifferent heroes that you introduce in all the, AAA MCU movies, and use this as an opportunity for the Young Avengers, because they're cool. And I love the Young Avengers story with Alan Heinberg, the guy from the OC. He created the team, the guy that wrote it. And they're all kind of young and hip, and she's one of the most badass characters. But in the Hawkeye book that this is likely based off of, she really shines. So, yeah.
Okay. Now, another thing I was thinking about, too, is, Hawkeye was a major player in a lot of the stuff in the comics involving the Skrulls, because that's really what I kind of remember as a kid was that. And, we've seen in the post-credit scene of Spider-Man Far From Home that the Skrulls are very much still around, and they're possibly within S.H.I.E.L.D., possibly civilians, who really knows? But, it sounds to me like it would make sense if they're going to bring back the Skrulls, that this would be the show to do it.
Right. Yeah, I sense big things from the Skrulls. That post-credit scene in Far From Home was pretty shocking to everybody, who I think immediately thought, oh, Secret Invasion.
Right.
Because that's just such a huge storyline yet to be covered. And if this show has a post-credit scene at all, I could definitely see it being something for the Secret Invasion setup.
What about the idea of bringing in Scott Lang and having Cliff become Goliath? That's not going to happen.
Oh, right, because he was Goliath. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he was Goliath, yeah.
If he got Pym particles blasted on him somehow and became huge at some point in the series, whether it was played for comedy or just as a cool, callback or an action scene, that would pop so many fans. I think that would be really cool.
Also, Taskmaster and Zemo, who we already talked about in the Falcon and Bucky show, they could appear here as well. What's your prediction as far as villains go for this thing? Because you got to have at least one villain, and I feel like they could work, but are we going to see them twice?
So if my prediction is correct, this is going to be heavily based off the Matt Fraction and David Aja Hawkeye run, the Marvel Now Hawkeye, which the typeface of the movie's title card, it's that exact font typeface from the cover.
You mean the TV show?
The TV shows, yes, it
Okay,
matches perfectly the comic.
Okay.
So that, to me, tips us off that this is going to be based on that, and that has a really unique storyline. It's basically all centered around his apartment building and his kind of protection of it from the Russian mafia. He calls them the tracksuit mafia, who basically trying to force out all the tenants and bully them, and then get increasingly violent. And they are, in a weird way, the central villain, but also showing up and particularly antagonizing Kate Bishop is Madame Mask. She features very prominently. And she becomes kind of Kate Bishop's arch nemesis throughout that series and afterward. So she's a really badass villain, and she is in a lot of different Marvel storylines. She features heavily in Bendis' Avengers run as a villain. But if I had to hedge my bets, it'd be Madame Mask with the Russian mafia as the secondary villain.
Now, also to add to that, we have, we know that Clint is gonna. Well, we don't know. We speculate that Clint's gonna make an appearance in the Black Widow movie, whether it be in flashbacks or visions, or he'll actually physically be there. Even though he probably won't physically be there because of the time skip thing. But who knows? We'll see. But what are the chances of us seeing Black Widow here? Because I feel like maybe her death was so traumatizing for him, even because they were close friends, possibly even former lovers at one time. We don't know. It's kind of hinted at. I mean, do you see maybe Scarlett Johansson making a couple cameos here, like inside of Clint's head, and he's thinking about her? And maybe he's worried about his own daughter's life being at risk, becoming a hero or something. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, right. So again, basing off the Matt Fraction run, that 2012 Hawkeye story. He is in a very depressed state throughout that storyline, and he's kind of battling his own demons and kind of self-sabotaging habits. Self-sabotaging.
Right.
But I could see this being like he is PTSD from the snap and losing his family, even though they're back, but also Scarlet Witch. Excuse me, not Scarlet Witch. ScarJo. Black Widow. Her death really kind of fucking him up. And just being despondent because of that.
Making the PTSD worse, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I could see that. I could see that being a situation that he has to deal with in this story, and it affects his daughter. Now, what do you think about the possibility of maybe the Yakuza, the remaining members that he did not take out in Endgame, coming back for revenge? I mean, we could totally see this thing where he's in his apartment with his daughter, and then boom, they break in through the window or something, and him and his daughter have to fight them off. I mean, there's a lot of things they could do with that.
That seems really likely because they kind of gave those characters some shine in Endgame. Like, you kind of got to know the Yakuzas that he was fighting a little bit.
It was only one scene, but it was a cool scene.
Yeah, it was a cool scene. But I could see them subbing in for the Russian mob here and harassing his apartment building in retaliation for him being Ronin.
Yeah, instead of it being the Russian mob, it's the Yakuza. That would make sense following up Endgame. It would make more sense.
It really would.
Without really disrespecting the comic.
And I'm wondering if he's going to start off again as Ronin.
I think he'll be both, but I would love to see him as Ronin using that sword again, because that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, bro. Very unique scene in that film, and I loved it.
It was a cool scene. My only gripe is that you never get a facial shot of his mask. It's just kind of a back quarter panel shot of him removing it, but they never show you his face as Ronin. So I was like, damn, I'm kind of a character design and like costume design nerd in that respect. So I was really hoping to see how it. But maybe they'll show the mask here.
Maybe they will. Yeah, because I agree with you in that. I don't see Hawkeye, even though I like Jeremy Renner in that role. I just don't see him being a continuing character in this series or in this MCU. I mean, now I'm not saying he won't come back and do cameos, because I'll be honest with you, I still think that at some point, Robert Downey will be back making a cameo, or they bring him back for Secret Wars because Beyonder can do things like that. Like, I don't think we're really done with him, but same thing with Clint. I think Clint might have a future just making cameos, but as far as him getting his own story, this might be it. Like, this TV show might be it, honestly.
Right. Especially if they're trying to permanently set up Kate Bishop and everything.
Yeah.
going forward.
It would-
But
it
I
would make
hope that he
sense.
kind of has like a soft exit here instead of just
Yeah,
killing him.
I don't want him to die.
Like,
I agree.
yeah.
Like
So,
maybe him and his wife just move to like a new house in the mountains, like what Tony did, and just live the rest of their life there while his daughter takes control. I don't know.
yeah, but I don't think his daughter is going to become Hawkeye. I believe Kate Bishop is going to be introduced as a new.
Well, I know that.
just
No,
completely different
I'm not
person.
saying she's going to be Hawkeye, but I'm saying she'll be the hero of the family. You know, and
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
part of the story is that he has to let her go. Like he has to like accept the fact that that's not his little girl anymore. She's her own woman now. She's powerful. She's good at what she does. They could do something like that, and it would be a great passing of the torch. You know, it would be like the old Avengers are legit passing the torch down. But the question is it going to work with the audiences? Because, you know, for Star Wars, it failed miserably, and it happens all the time. You introduce a new group of heroes, and people want the old ones because they
Yeah.
love the classic characters.
And it
is
didn't
it
really
going
work
to work?
for Marvel either. Like the post Secret Wars all new, all different Marvel, where they introduced all the new substitute heroes for the main Avengers. That is not particularly successful time for Marvel in terms of sales. So, you know, whether they want to go all in with the MCU and that same on that same track, I don't know. It's unproven. But that's why I'm saying separate Kate Bishop into the Young Avengers. Let that team develop naturally. Don't force her onto the Avengers and make people kind of uncomfortable with the amount of replacement heroes because
I
it's going to
agree.
be all different. So
You've got to get Tom Holland in. You got to keep some of the old ones. You've
You do.
got to Black Widow's gone, Tony's gone, Cap is gone. Bring in the Hulk when necessary because you're gonna need him at some point again. Thor is still around. They should not get rid of him at all. Chris Hemsworth is way too funny.
he's amazing.
Yeah, they got to keep some people around. I think, you know, to keep it familiar because Tony Stark's passing was a big deal in this franchise. So,
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
One last thing before we go.
Mhm.
I think I'm wondering if because of the similarities and visual similarities to the Matt Fraction run, and he has to be kind of living on his own in order for that story to function the way it does in the comics, and the fact that he's living by himself. I'm wondering if there's going to be some marital problems between him and his family, like some sort of like, because he's very much on his own during that.
Well, it's been 5 years, you know.
It's been 5 years. I wonder if it's not going to be like everything's just hunky dory after that, like the Ronin stuff. And
well,
just
maybe the cops are after him or something, bro. Or maybe, you know what it could be. To keep it simple, maybe he knows the Yakuza's coming after him, so he goes away from his family for a while to keep them safe. It's not, you know, they could do something like that. It would be an easy way to explain that.
Yeah.
So let us know in the comments what you think, and go ahead and plug your Twitter so everybody can go to it.
Oh yes, at SSJ5 Tablos, just like the guy from Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
TABLOS. SSJ5 Super Saiyan 5 Tablos.
The guy who wrote AF.
For some, yes, the guy. Well, he drew the drawing that punks people out. Yeah.
Exactly. He was. I did the whole video on Geekdom 101. It's almost at 1 million views now. He drew the original drawing, and then Toyotaro, Toyable, and Young Gigi did their versions, and off we go.
Yes.
He's one of the
hoaxes. Forefathers. He's a big hoax for sure.
Biggest hoax
I always
ever.
get a chuckle out of it.
Yeah. All right. So check out Hayden on the Twitter, and we'll see y'all. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think, and we'll see y'all next time.